Hello, welcome back to the Union Chronicle. Tom Wister, your PEA president, coming to you from Cuppy's Coffee across from the PEA office. I'm including a link to last night's board meeting on the PSD YouTube channel and would call your attention to a discussion that began last night, which would hopefully lead to a mill levy override election for the purpose of salaries in Poudre School District. A little bit of background. You know, your negotiations team, there are 12 of us, and we put in lots of hours at this process. It's called interest-based bargaining. We call it the Big Circle. We literally sit in a big circle in the boardroom, members of PEA for educators, ACE for classified, and PACE for our administration, along with cabinet. And we deal with all of the issues related to salary, benefits, and working conditions. We finished our process this year with an MOU that provided a 2.05% cost of living increase, as well as steps and lanes. Now, as this process goes on pretty much year-round, there's some things that have been happening in the background that we have needed to keep separate. For example, it was decided early in the process this year that we would keep the process of an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, and the idea of going to the voters for a mill levy override, to keep those two ideas separate. So I haven't been telling you much about the mill levy override, and the purpose of this Union Chronicle is to help you get up to speed on what that involves and what the major issues are. So last night, one of the first things that the board did in their consent agenda is approve our MOU. So negotiations for this year are officially completed. And what I'd like to point your attention to, go ahead and click the link open that opens up last night's board meeting. Fast forward it to the 1 hour 24 minute mark. That's where the discussion begins on the mill levy override. And if you would, please spend the time to watch it all the way through. You will learn a whole bunch of stuff. The community comment section begins at the 1 hour 27 minute point, and I'd like to thank the following people who took precious time out of the end of the year duties of an educator to come and speak to the board last night. It was late by the time we got to this agenda item. Shelley Wells from Dunn, the awesome team of folks from Fossil Ridge that included Alex Oberto, Darren Marshall, Niall O'Dwyer, Ben DeGear, and Brendan Gallagher, and also Melanie Patchandi from Rocky Mountain High School. Then at 1 hour 45 minutes, the presentation begins. I've included into this email the PowerPoint slide deck that was used to explain the presentation. You can't see it very well on the screen, so go ahead and read through that. And then at 2 hours and 9 minutes in, questions from board members begin, and it ends at 2 hours and 40 minutes. Pay close attention to the questions that the board members ask. You know, I've told you all along that the relationship between the PEA team, the other members of the Big Circle, and the board is a tight one. We spend a lot of hours together. We work very well together, and it's transparent, and we have to be able to trust each other. That's one of our norms, is to assume that we are all working for the best intentions for our kids. The questions what I want you to pay attention to when you watch this is the questions that we have been grappling with as a team for a couple of years now. The first question is, how much do we go to the voters and ask for? What is an amount that would put us whole in terms of our salary and would be acceptable to the voters of Fort Collins? Would it be a fixed mill or a fixed amount? Now, I'm sure you know a mill is a monetary denomination. It's 1/10 of 1 cent, and it's the measurement by which our property taxes are set. And for all of the mill levy overrides that are currently in place in PSD, they are all a fixed amount, meaning you set the mill level to whatever it takes to raise the amount needed that the voters approved. A fixed mill amount does the opposite. As property values increase, the mill stays the same and therefore brings in more money. The questions about whether or not this is a tax neutral proposition or is it a tax increase? Also, the question of when would we go to the voters for such a choice? Would it be the November 2019 election, or do we wait to the presidential election in 2020? And then, if we were successful at getting this passed, how would it be applied to our salary schedule? Now, that question came up actually in last year's negotiations when we decided we would seek an independent third-party expert consultant's opinion about how our salary schedule is constructed. And there are some very good questions and answers about that process and how it might be applied to our salary schedule. It's complicated stuff. Also, in the timeline question is if we do decide to go for the mill levy override in 2019, which, to be honest with you, is the preference of the team, and from the questions and answers last night, I perceive that is the intention of the board as well. Well, that's coming up quick. The next board meeting is June 11th. I would like to invite all of you to tune in or come down to the board meeting and watch that. They will continue that discussion and perhaps take some action. On September 6th, if we go to the voters, that question needs to be certified. It means all the language is done, all the provisions of it are set out. That's September 6th. Then on October 14th, the ballots begin to arrive in our mailbox. This is, as everyone is used to now, an all mail-in election. So that's October 14th. People will begin to make up their minds on this decision. And then, of course, Election Day is November 5th. We need this mill levy override. We need it to be successful. We need to not be 11th out of our 11 comparable districts in terms of starting salary. We need to not be 11th out of 11 of our comparable districts in the starting salary for people with a master's degree. We need to be better than 8th out of 11 for the folks that have a master's degree and have 10 years service in PSD. And we need to do better than 10th out of 11th for the folks with master's degrees who have taught for 20 years. That's where we're at right now. A lot of information will be coming at you quickly from Poudre Education Association, from your team members, as we begin to grapple with how do we do this heavy lift. We will need a lot of volunteers, and much more about that. But take the time now, please, to watch those parts of the board meeting that I've indicated, and send me any questions, thoughts, concerns that you have. All right, that's what I have for you. I hope the last couple of days of school are great for you, and have a very restful June, and we'll be talking to you soon. Oh, yeah, by the way, Union Chronicles will come out periodically throughout the summer, so please watch your home emails for those. Talk to you soon. Bye.